The Galaxy S27 Ultra could be facing a very simple question. Does Samsung chase the fastest chip money can buy? Or does it make a calculated compromise to keep the price from getting completely out of hand? Because the early performance numbers tied to Qualcomm's next monster processor are honestly wild. We're talking about a chip that could push Android flagships into an entirely new performance class. But there's a twist. The Galaxy S27 Ultra may not actually get the top version, and that could change the whole conversation around Samsung's next ultra-premium phone. Okay, so here's what we're breaking down today. The rumored Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro, its massive benchmark result, why Samsung might skip it despite all that power, and what the S27 Ultra could be doing on the camera side instead. Obviously, this is all based on early reports and leaks, not official Samsung announcements. But if these details hold up, the S27 Ultra could be one of the most interesting flagship decisions Samsung has made in years. A chip believed to be Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro reportedly appeared in Antutu testing with a score of 4,835/412. That is not a casual little upgrade. That's a serious leap. For perspective, the current Antutu leader mentioned in these reports is the Red Magic 11 Pro, powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. Its score sits at 3,994/799. So this rumored next-gen Pro chip is roughly 21% ahead. And compared with the Galaxy S26 Ultra's reported score of 3,437/807, we're looking at a potential jump in the neighborhood of 35%. That's huge. Now, benchmark apps don't tell you whether you'll suddenly type messages 35% faster. Nobody's opening the calculator and saying, wow, this phone is life-changing. But benchmarks do matter at this level, because they show how much room a phone has for demanding games, heavy multitasking, AI features, image processing, and staying fast years down the road. Here's the thing. When you're buying an Ultra phone, you're not just paying for today's experience, you're buying headroom. You want the device to still feel quick after years of software updates, larger apps, and more demanding camera features. 2. The GPU may be the real star. And okay, so here's where it gets interesting. The rumored Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro isn't just posting a big overall score. Its graphics result is even more eye-catching. The new A850 GPU reportedly reached 1,854/826 points in the graphics portion of the test. The previous best was 1,484/937. That's an enormous gain for the part of the chip responsible for games, visual effects, and a lot of demanding on-device rendering. In plain English, the GPU is the engine that handles the pretty complicated stuff. High-end mobile games, smoother visual effects, advanced photo processing, and demanding interfaces all lean on graphics horsepower. That doesn't mean every game will instantly look like a console title. Developers still have to optimize their software, and phone makers have to manage heat and battery life. But a stronger GPU gives them more room to push visual quality without sacrificing smoothness. The chip is reportedly identified by the SM8975 codename, and it's expected to use a revised Orion CPU design with 2 prime cores, 3 performance-focused cores, and 3 additional cores in the layout. That's different from the current generation's setup of 2 prime cores at 4.6 GHz and 6 performance cores at 3.62 GHz. The expected clocks are higher too, so Qualcomm appears to be aiming for brute force, not just tiny efficiency gains. Now for the weird part. Samsung's Ultra models have a long history of using Qualcomm's very best flagship silicon. So naturally, you'd expect the S27 Ultra to grab the Pro chip and run with it. But reports suggest Qualcomm could divide its top-end lineup into 2 levels this year. A regular Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 and a more expensive Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro. The Pro version is expected to be built on a 2nm process, which is about as cutting edge as it gets. But cutting edge usually means costly. And apparently, this particular chip may also require LPDDR6 RAM and UFS 5.0 storage to fully support the platform. Those are the next generation components that help with memory and storage performance. Think faster access to data and better responsiveness when a phone is juggling lots of tasks. The problem: the Galaxy S27 Ultra is reportedly no longer expected to include those parts. If that's true, Samsung may choose the standard Elite Gen 6 instead, potentially with a weaker GPU than the Pro model. That would be a fascinating move. Samsung could still deliver an extremely fast phone, but other Android flagships might claim the absolute performance crown. And that possibility says a lot about the 2027 flagship landscape. Component prices are rising, and phone makers are being forced to decide where the money actually goes. Google, for example, reportedly reduced RAM on certain Pixel 11 models. Samsung has also reportedly dropped some planned S27 Ultra changes because of budget pressure. That might sound disappointing, but there's a practical angle here. A flagship isn't just a chip. It's a screen, cameras, battery, cooling system, memory, storage, materials, software support, and a whole lot more. Spending aggressively in one area can mean cutting back somewhere else. So if Samsung does pass on the Pro processor, the real question won't be, is the S27 Ultra slower? It'll be, did Samsung use that budget to make the overall phone better where people actually notice it? And with phones now receiving support for much longer, performance still matters. Even the standard Elite Gen 6 could provide plenty of power for years, but the Pro chip would represent extra insurance for the future, and bragging rights Samsung fans definitely won't want to surrender. Samsung may be putting some of its attention into the camera system instead. The Galaxy S27 Ultra is rumored to use a 200-megapixel ISO HP6 sensor alongside Samsung's Lefique technology. The big goal here is improved dynamic range. That means a camera can preserve more information in the brightest and darkest parts of a scene at the same time. Imagine shooting a sunset without turning the sky into a blown-out white mess, or the foreground into a black silhouette, or taking a photo inside a room with bright windows behind someone. Better dynamic range helps the camera keep detail across that entire image. That's actually huge because these are the moments where phone cameras often struggle in real life. Controlled daylight shots are easy. The hard stuff is mixed lighting, bright signs at night, harsh sunlight, and indoor scenes with shadows everywhere. Samsung is also reportedly stepping away from variable aperture plans in favor of sensor improvements and more practical camera upgrades, including better front camera performance. Variable aperture is clever hardware, but smarter imaging sensors may have a bigger day-to-day impact. So the Galaxy S27 Ultra could be a battle between maximum specs and smarter priorities. The Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro looks unbelievably powerful, especially on the graphics side. But its cost, and the memory and storage it may demand, could push Samsung toward the standard chip instead. At the same time, Samsung may be betting that stronger camera hardware, better dynamic range, and meaningful everyday improvements matter more than winning a benchmark chart. What would you choose, the full Pro chip, even if it raises the price, or a more balanced S27 Ultra with better practical upgrades? Drop your take below and subscribe for more Galaxy S27 Ultra updates as these rumors develop.